welcome to another episode of the Heirloom Library. I'm so glad you could join me today and again relax, pull up a chair, maybe a drink of coffee or tea. And today actually I'm going to do something a little bit more personal because Father's Day is coming up. So I thought I would showcase a couple of things that actually were more for my own father and tell you a little bit about some of the things that I have here. And first of all, just to give you a bit of background, my father and where I grew up was in upstate New York. It was in the Finger Lakes area, and it was in a small little town called Canandaigua, New York. And they had a small farm there near the lake, and they actually grew, it was an orchard. It wasn't so much of a farm where they had a lot of livestock or those kinds of things. It was more fruit related. Anyway, I have a book here called The Parties and the Men. The Parties and the Men. And this book was published in 1896. And it is, record of all the different gentlemen that had some kind of a role to play in politics. And this actually was a Christmas present for my father. I don't know if you can see that. And this is actually from his grandfather. And it was gifted to him in Christmas 1912. And my father was born in 1910, so he was only a couple of years old. But it says, to my dear grandson, in handing over this political work, I wish it for a keepsake for you to hold until you are as old as I am, and know it will gratify the interest you may have on all those mentioned in the book and I have seen in my lifetime. And his name was Tristan Brown. And Tristan was born in 1838. So he would have been my great-grandfather. And I am not actually going to read you anything from the book because it's pretty dry going. So I'm not going to bore you with that. But a little interesting thing that was in here, I don't know whether he did it or not, but this is a little banner here, a little flyer here. It's I guess it could have been a bookmark. It's actually made of cotton linen, looks like, and it is the 14th Indiana Volunteers, their 23rd annual reunion in Spencer, Indiana on September 7th, 1908. They had 72 engagements. Killed or wounded in battle were 592, or 52%. Quite a bit. Anyway, my grandfather was part of this. He did, in fact, join the Indiana Volunteers, and he fought and was joined in 1861, and he was wounded in 1862. So that's a little bit about my father's side of the family, and again, you know, we sometimes lose so much on the heirlooms, and this is certainly something that my father treasured. He handed it down to me, and of course I will be handing it down to my grandchildren. So it's something that this is where sometimes books are so important, because it's not so much the content of the book, it's the fact that, again, this was dedicated to my dad. And, it's just when you hold on to it, I know that my great-grandfather purchased it and dedicated it to my father. And another book, this is much newer. This is called Squaw Island in Canandaigua Lake. And this one was purchased. This was printed in 2003. So this is a more modern picture of the lake. But we actually, and this was my father's family, but I grew up on the property. And we had, it was about 15 acres on the west side of the lake. And we had I think we had like 1,000 feet of lake frontage, which was actually undeveloped when I was a child. We used to go down there and swim. And it was directly across from the island. And my father had stories. This particular picture shows what the island looked like in 1910 and would have looked like more of when he was a younger person, because over time the island got much smaller. It's still pretty big when I was swimming there around 10, 11, 12 years old, but they actually had to do some salvaging to save that island. But he used to tell me stories about, I think they had a couple of cows, I think just a couple, probably milk cows for milk and butter and that kind of thing. And he was in charge of taking the cows down to the lake. And apparently, really not sure, of course, now why. My dad's long gone. But they would swim across from their shoreline to the island. And he used to tell me how he would hold onto their tails and they would pull them across to the island. So a couple of little funny, stories about that. And, just again, wonderful things to reminisce on this upcoming Father's Day. So I hope you enjoyed this part of it and a little, trip down memory lane for me. And then also, as you know, I like to showcase a few things from my Etsy store. And of course, I'm sitting, Ash, I don't know if you can see this, but this coverlet has a lot of wolves. And I have, this actually belongs to my husband. This is a very heavy but beautiful Kitty Cantrell bust of a wolf. And it is signed and numbered. It is numbered 177 of only 950. It weighs about 8 pounds, but I'm gonna see if you can get a nice close-up of how beautiful this really is. And this is the back of the wolf. And it's really, really a beautiful, beautiful piece. So it would be great on anybody's bookcase or desk. And I certainly invite you to go into my Etsy store and check it out. Well, thank you for joining me, and I hope that you subscribe and hit that subscribe button. And if you have any comments, ideas, suggestions of what you'd like to hear in the future, I'd love to hear from you, and just ideas on what we talked today. So thanks so much for joining me, and we'll see you next time.